YouTube movie. Now I will explain Hulk Part 1 to you. This film starts while showing a scientist. He was making a special thing while mixing the DNA of some animals and reptiles. The government was also giving him funds for this. When he couldn't make that thing, the government has stopped giving funds. That scientist starts working on it separately. And finally, he made that medicine, that film. Any disease or any poison didn't have any effect on it. He tests that medicine on himself. During this, his baby boy born, and he named him Bruce. That scientist comes to know his son also has the effect of this thing. The effect of that medicine which he tested on him. He starts making its solution that how to remove its effect. On the other side, we see that whenever Bruce gets hurt he keeps smiling. This means he never gets hurt and never gets sick. Bruce's father was also suspended from the job due to the violation of the government. Then we see that many years passed. Now Bruce is living with another family. He was told that his parents are dead. Now Bruce has also become a scientist. There is a colleague with him whose name was Ross. They like each other very much. They were researching on it that how a wound can heal. Then a soldier comes to them. He says them to work for the army. But they refuse him. That we want that the world takes advantage of it. Then that army officer leaves from there while giving him the warning. After it, Ross sees a strange man in the office. He goes to Bruce's office, picks his hair, and takes it with him. He was actually the father of Bruce. He was still alive. He picked Bruce's hair to check his DNA. The rays on which Bruce and Ross were working, that machine goes out of order. Bruce was trying to control it, but those rays fall on him. In the next scene, we see that Bruce comes into his senses. Because when the rays fell he gets faint, so he was then taken to the hospital. Rose was also sitting near him. She says to him that those rays were dangerous. How you survive? She was shocked. But Bruce says to Ross, Ross, leave it, I am feeling much energetic. I am not feeling pain anywhere. They were surprised by it, but also happy. At night, Bruce's old father comes to him. He tells Bruce that I am your father. But Bruce says no, he is dead. Then that scientist means Bruce's father says that no, the army told a lie to you. And your colleague Ross is also the daughter of that army general. He stopped my research. The thing you are searching for is inside you. You don't need to find it anywhere else. And you also don't need anyone's help. Bruce says to his father, how could I believe in what you are saying? You have come after many years, and I love Ross for many years. Now the night falls and Bruce comes to his lab. He was remembering the saying of that scientist means his real father. He becomes aggressive. Some changes occur in his body. His body becomes huge and green. While seeing, he turned into a huge green Hulk. His father was also seeing all this while hiding. Then he comes to him and Bruce means Hulk remembers his childhood. But Bruce leaves from there while breaking all things from there. The next day, Ross comes to meet Hulk. She says that the strange things happened in the lab yesterday. Did you come to the lab yesterday? But Bruce didn't remember anything. He was not Hulk at that time. He says no, I didn't come to the lab yesterday. But yesterday and have seen a weird dream. A man also came who is saying himself, my father. Then the army general means Ross's father arrives there. He makes his daughter sits in the car. He says her to stay outside. I have to talk about some important things with Bruce. In fact, that army general also knows that he is the son of that scientist. He also knows that he is completing the work which his father left. He comes inside near Bruce and starts talking with him. On the other side, Ross goes to Bruce's father. She asks him that what is in Bruce, that my father is behind him. He wants to talk to him. Then Bruce's father says that you have left my son Bruce with your father. You don't know about Bruce. He is unique in reality, and if the army will know him, they will catch him. And the world also does not accept unique things. On the other side, the army general was talking to Bruce. He was asking that tell me where is your father? Bruce says that I only know that he is dead. And I don't know about him. Then that army general says that I am the one who has to send your father to jail. And you know that I will come to know everything. And if you will not give me the right information, I will also send you to jail. Then Bruce says I didn't remember anything. Then that general says that you are not able to open a lab, your brain is childish. And remember, stay away from my daughter. General leaves, and then Bruce receives the call. He says to his father that why you have done this cruelty with me. Why you inject this disease into me. His father says this is not a disease but a power. His father says to use it, but Bruce says no, I will finish it. Then his father says that now Ross will not with you. Because I have made some creatures from your DNA, and I send those creatures towards her. Bruce immediately cuts the call and moves towards Rose's house. But then an army officer comes in his way. Bruce gets aggressive. He again changes into a Hulk. He becomes a giant Hulk and he finally arrives at Ross's house. They start seeing each other. Bruce makes sit Ross in the car. Then those creature dogs arrive there. They were made by Bruce's father with Bruce's DNA. Bruce kills them while fighting with them. After it, Bruce tells Ross everything that his father actually wants. There was a hidden medicine in my body that comes in front due to the rays. Now, whenever I am in anger, it changes into a Hulk. Ross encourages him that I am with you. The next day, Ross calls her father. She wants his help for Bruce, because she doesn't know that he is the enemy of Bruce. As her father comes to know she is with Bruce, he sends his army here. They make Bruce faint. Now, the army takes him with them. They take him to the general, means to Ross's father. Ross says to Bruce that I will make you fine soon, but she doesn't know that her father is so cruel. They have brought Bruce 1,000 feet down in the ground. They were planning to keep him faint for always. When Ross comes to know, she asks her father why you hate Bruce. Her father says no, I don't hate him, he is dangerous. He is an insane scientist like his father. Then Ross says that I know him, please let me meet him once. So her father allows her. Then she spends the whole day with him. After it, her father says that you will not meet him again, because some people will take him with them for always. On the other side, when Bruce's father comes to know that they had caught Bruce, he thinks that I can't let my son's research be over. He goes to that place where those rays were. He falls those rays on himself, so that he can become unique like his son. He can complete his work and can save him. But there one more reaction happened. The thing which he touches, he becomes like it. This was also a good ability. From there, Bruce's father goes to Ross and asks her that I want to meet my son. Then Ross says that now it's too late. They are about to take them. Then Bruce's father says that your father is doing all this, so stop him. Rose says that I can't stop him. Why are you saying that to me? All is your fault. Rose's father says that it is not my fault, that was in his DNA. I don't want this to happen. I have done a lot of things to stop it. Now I want your benefit. The fault is of your father, he stopped my project. If he would not stop my project, I had searched its remedy, its cure. He tells that yes, I accept my mistake. When I come to know that my son Bruce will be a danger to the world, I come forward to kill him. But then my wife comes in between. That knife stabs into her. Due to it, she died. Now we see that they were oppressing Bruce. They were giving him the electric shocks to make him angry, and he can become Hulk. Because they want that when he will become Hulk, they will take off his skin. They want to make more Hulks from his DNA. They will get benefit from it. But Bruce could not get angry. He says that whatever will be done, I will not become a Hulk, so that they can't use me. They torture him until he gets faint. Then he was placed into a water tank. There he sees some visions. That when he was small, how his father was about to kill him while considering him a monster. Because of it, his mother also died. While remembering all this, he gets aggressive. Due to it, he finally changes into a Hulk here. He comes out after breaking that glass. That army tries to make him faint. They also fire on Bruce, means Hulk. But it didn't affect him, because now he was a powerful Hulk. He has become a giant now. He comes out of that building. An army helicopter was also behind him. He jumps on it. But that helicopter was on a height that Hulk loses its balance and drops in the water. The army starts firing him, but Hulk moves out from the water and moves forward to the city. Ross was also there. She was sent by her father, means that army general. When Bruce sees Ross, he changes into a normal human. He was calming down, because he didn't know that it is a trap for him. Getting a chance from it, the army again holds him. When Ross comes to know her father deceives her and told her a lie, she feels bad. She starts hating her father. Now Bruce's father also arrives there. He says to Army that I want to meet my son last time. In return, I surrender. So arrest me. But here he was also playing a trick. Because now he also has the powers. He wants to fight with them for his son. Now Bruce's father meets Bruce and starts saying something, so that he will come in anger and become a Hulk. But Bruce was weak now, he was not getting aggressive. Bruce's father absorbs the energy and the electricity of the whole city in him. He also gives that shock to Bruce. Due to it, Bruce finally changes into the Hulk. And they start fighting. Bruce's father was fighting with him so that he can absorb his energy. Hulk says to his father that takes my whole energy. With it, he gives his father his energy. But that was a lot of energy that Bruce's father couldn't control. He says no, stop it, only you can control it. Now we see that the army throws the bomb on them. Due to it, they both die. Now 1 year has passed. Ross receives the call from her father. He says that whenever you see Bruce in the form of Hulk you will tell me. Everyone says that he is dead but you still feel that he is alive. Ross says no, I will never tell you. I also want that I could never remember him. Otherwise, he will come to me as a memory. But in this part 1 end, we see that Bruce is still alive. He was curing some people in the forest. He has learned how to control his anger. That's why nobody recognizes him that Hulk is alive or dead. With it, this movie means part 1 of Hulk's ends. Now I will explain part 2 of this movie. This means Hulk part 2. Now part 2 starts and we see that Bruce has gone to another country. He was in the lab of another country. Because Ross said to him on call that I can cure you, she asks him to come to that lab. An experiment is done on him in this lab, so that he can be fine and will stay Bruce for always. But that experiment fails, and Bruce changes into Hulk. He becomes aggressive. That how disgusting is this? He leaves from there while making them all injured. He moves to another country. To control this habit of anger he joins yoga classes. He was also trying to make himself fine, to stay Bruce for always and never change into the Hulk. Bruce works in that company to make bottles. One day during work his hand cuts. His blood falls on a bottle. When that bottle was filled with soda and a man drinks it, that disease also transfers into him which has no cure yet. When those reports go to the army general, he understands that this disease or these germs can only transfer through Bruce. Surely he is alive somewhere. I should search for him. Then he comes to know that bottles made in which country. He sends his army to hold him. Then they see him. When Bruce comes to know about it, he thinks that how I will defeat them. Here he again turns into a Hulk unwillingly. After it, he competes with them and runs from there, so that none will hold him this time. Now that army leader who was sent by the general, he says to general that I couldn't hold him. I don't know what kinds of powers he has, he was like a giant. That army general says don't worry, I will tell you the ways to fight with him. On the other side, we see that Bruce arrives in that country where Ross called him in the lab. He took admission to a university, and there he sees Ross. When he sees her walking with another boy he thinks that she has forgotten me. That's why she is with that boy. He gets hurt, and leaves from there. He goes to a pizza shop. There the owner tells him that he is a friend of Ross, and he is a good boy. Leave it, I will give you a job. The job is as a pizza delivery man and in return, you can live here. Bruce talks on the internet without telling his identification. This means none knows that he is Hulk or Bruce. He talks randomly. Then one day Bruce receives an order of pizza from that university where he studied before. He sees that there is none in the computer lab. He goes there and opens his account. But he sees that there is no information related to his name, not also related to Ross's name. He texts that man whom he talks to on the internet. He tells him everything. When Bruce returns he sees that Ross is sitting in that pizza shop. She was sitting with her friend. Ross sees him but Bruce runs from there. Ross follows him, but she couldn't see him. She comes back and asks that pizza owner, that is he lives here? Don't tell a lie. That pizza owner says yes, he lives here. Now Bruce was leaving that city, but Ross comes behind him. She says him to stop, don't leave. She takes him with her to her home. They talk, and Ross says to him that I have what you want. You don't need to hide from me. I will never arrest you. But do consider my saying. And if we give this data to the army general so he can help us. No, this is your misunderstanding. This is your thinking that he will help me. They want to make the Hulks after killing me with my skin. After it, the scene changes and we see the father of Ross, means the army general. He was about to complete his promise with that army leader. He says to him that don't worry, I'll make you powerful, that you will compete with the Hulk. And you will catch him. He injects him some injections. He injects the injections in his neck, his bones, and in his spinal cord. Due to it, he becomes more active. He becomes more powerful. Now Bruce says to Ross that I just want this data. I can't stay here more. The army will be coming to hold me. He just says this. Meanwhile, the army arrives there. Don't know who tells them that Bruce is here. He starts running and the army was also behind him. Then he was imprisoned at a bridge. At that time he takes out while breaking the bridge. He was again turned into a Hulk. Those bullets of the soldiers were not affecting him like before. That army leader orders them to shoot him in front of the tank. Then it was done the same with him. But Hulk has the courage and the powers. He bears it. He didn't break himself and didn't get hurt. Then suddenly he lifts up and ruined those tanks. Hulk also kills a human. Then the army general says that no one will go near him right now. Because he is a wave of anger, he can kill everyone. He sends her daughter Rose to him. He says her to go and calm him down so that he will change into Bruce. She goes near him, but meanwhile, a helicopter of army starts firing him. Hulk protects Ross while spreading his hands around her to protect her from the bullets. Then he destroys that helicopter. There he also crushed the bones of that army leader, the leader who tried to attack him. Then he comes to the mountains after taking Ross from there, the place where the army couldn't find her. Then we see that the army leader was in the hospital. The doctors say that his bones are not able to join now. He will always stay in the condition of the coma. But then surprisingly he wakes up. His bones were joined and he was absolutely fine. That was because of the injection which that army general injected in him. Seeing it, the army general injects more injections into him. On the other side, Bruce says to Hulk that I want to remove the Hulk from me for always. If there is no bamboo, there won't be any noise of the flute. When there will be no Hulk, whom will they catch? Bruce says to Rose that I have an idea. We should go to meet that man whom I talk about on the internet randomly. He also has a lab. He doesn't know me, but when he will come to know that who am I, he will surely help me. Now they move towards his lab. Finally, he meets that man. That random man says to Bruce that I thought that you are a giant. Like you told me about yourself. Then Bruce says yes, I am, but this is my version of a normal human. That man says to him that look, I have the medicine, but it is strong. I don't know that you could control it or not. Will you bear it or not? You can die due to that medicine. Shall I inject that medicine? Then Bruce says that who cares about life? I only want to kill Hulk always. Then he was taken to the lab. But to inject that medicine it was compulsory to make him Hulk before. That's why they give him electric shocks, so that he will change into Hulk in anger. It happens the same. Ross starts talking to him, look, don't harm anything. We are here for your benefit. Remember this all. With it, that random man injects his medicine into him. That Hulk starts changing into his real form Bruce, which means a good human. That random man was happy. Because his experiment was successful, and he also invents the cure for this disease. That man tells them that any disease can cure possibly. In fact, Bruce has sent me his blood. With that blood drop I have made more blood. I have done the tests of many animals, but its results didn't come in front. Now as I tested on Hulk and his disease was cured, so we can make the disease of other people's disease. But Bruce and Ross say that it is dangerous. The army is also behind it, and if they will know that you are having it, they will take you. With it, they will also make many Hulks with this blood. They will destroy the world. Meanwhile, the army arrives there. They again make Bruce faint. Then the army general takes Ross with him. On the other side, that army leader arrives at the random man. He says to him on the gunpoint that injects his blood in me, so that I could become Hulk. That random man does this unwillingly. As he injects blood in him, he changes into a weird creature. There were dirty spikes on its body. Means its skin was rough. He beats that random man and leaves that lab. On the other side, that army general sees a strange creature on his screen. It was falling down. He thinks that Hulk means Bruce is sitting with me. Who is he? He comes to know he is that army leader, and what has he done? Now, the army general has realized his mistake. Because that army leader was changed into a creature, it is more difficult to stop him, because he becomes a dangerous creature. Then Bruce says, "See, you didn't agree with what I have said. To catch me, your own colleagues have deceived you. Now you please let me go because none can stop him except me." That army general also knows that he has sent his many armies, tried many times, but he couldn't hold Hulk. So how can he hold this creature? Then the plan of the army general changes. He doesn't let him go. He forcefully jumps while opening the door of the helicopter. He hits with the road, due to which that road breaks. And Hulk comes out of there, which means Bruce now becomes Hulk. That army leader creature was in front of him. That army leader creature attacks that helicopter. There was Ross in that helicopter. The Hulk tries to stop it. They fight a lot. Meanwhile, Hulk sees that the helicopter of Ross was on fire, and it was about to crash. Hulk immediately goes and blown off that fire. Hulk again goes to that army leader creature. He starts pressing his neck with a big chain. Then he puts his foot on his chest. That strange creature faints there. Meanwhile, the army arrives there, and they start firing on him. But the father of Ross means the army general stops them. Ross comes to him and says that I knew that you will not harm anyone, and you always try to save this world. Forgive me for my faults. Then she starts weeping. Hulk makes her quiet. This means he has the control over himself, that after changing into Hulk he can control his feelings. Now he knows the difference between good and bad. Then a bad army again comes there to hold him. They follow him. Hulk runs from there while running and jumping. Now, this incident passed since the accident. He was doing yoga and some exercises there to never become Hulk again. Then we see that suddenly his eyes turn green. A smile comes on his face. Bruce has controlled himself now, he can't become the Hulk. And if he wants to use the power of the Hulk, his eyes will only turn green. Then he has those powers, that was his success. With this, part 2 of this movie also ends. Thank you.